Maya Ray Thurman Hawke may have made her mark by playing fan-favorite character Robin in Season 3 of Stranger Things, but that was far from her first experience in the world of entertainment. Think about that name again for a moment, in particular her last two surnames, Thurman and Hawke, because they both come with a ton of film history wrapped up in them. That's right, Maya's the daughter of former married couple Uma Thurman and Ethan Hawke, two of the biggest actors of their generation. Believe it or not, but even with a pedigree like that, Maya would do her best to resist the temptation of entering the world of acting for herself. But after difficult experiences at school and some time spent modeling, Maya could refuse the calling no longer. So if you've ever wondered what the life and times were like for the daughter of one of Hollywood's most talked about couples, then you're about to find out right here on Famous Life. Maya Ray Thurman Hawke was born on July 8, 1998 in New York City. Her parents, Ethan Hawke and Uma Thurman, had met the year prior while shooting the science fiction film Gattaca, where they quickly fell in love. They'd be married in the spring of '98, and 2 months later along came Maya. Growing up in New York City alongside her younger brother Levon, some of Maya's earliest memories are watching her parents work on film sets, including the time her entire family moved to China for 6 months to watch Uma shoot Quentin Tarantino's epic Kill Bill. Maya was only 4 years old back then, but as she told Elle magazine, she vividly remembers watching my mom get the shit kicked out of her while I ate gummy bears. In 2005, Ethan and Uma would split, and a few years later, Maya would be hanging out backstage with her dad as he rehearsed and performed in the play The Cherry Orchard. Of course, growing up with parents who were frequently in the headlines couldn't have been easy, especially when said headlines would dive into her parents' divorce. But Maya understood from a young age that the realities of the situation were beyond her control. And for the most part, she didn't let it bother her. During a conversation with Jenny McCarthy, Maya would reveal, "I was never aware of my parents ever being anything other than my parents. They were loving and we played games and took train rides. I didn't feel like I was in a public family. I mean, except for a few kind of horrifying high school moments along the way." While school was the crux of Maya's difficulties, she would have to change primary schools frequently after being diagnosed with dyslexia, and overcoming this obstacle became something she would wrestle with a lot. It wasn't until she arrived at St. Anne's Private School in Brooklyn, which encourages development of a student's artistic sensibility more so than, say, average schoolwork, that she really began to find herself. And while she was quick to sign up to perform in nearly every school play that she could, for as much as acting was in her blood, she also did her best to resist it. Instead, she'd work on other artistic passions like writing poetry and singing songs. She even did a little bit of modeling like her mother before her. In her later years of high school, she would model for British company All Saints and even appear in a video campaign for Calvin Klein underwear that was directed by filmmaker Sofia Coppola. But eventually, Maya could put off her calling no longer. She said, "I was like, I don't know. Do I want to get an English degree? What do I want to do? I didn't like studying for my SAT, didn't like writing essays, but I felt so alive and capable in the theater at my school, and how do you say no to that?" After high school, she would move on to the prestigious Juilliard, but she wouldn't make it to the end of the school year. Instead, she decided to drop out of her second semester to spend 4 months on location shooting the role of Jo March in the BBC adaptation of Little Women. It was Maya's first professional acting project, and in a sense, she'd been preparing for it all her life. How so? Because earlier in her life, when she was struggling to overcome her dyslexia, falling in love with the character of Jo in Louisa May Alcott's classic piece of literature motivated her to overcome those difficulties. As you might imagine, with the announcement of her casting, Maya's mother Uma was immensely proud and celebrated her daughter's accomplishment with a post to social media. For her own part, Maya was simply thrilled to get the opportunity to work with other acting greats like Emily Watson and Angela Lansbury. After filming wrapped, Maya didn't return to Juilliard. Instead, she moved into her first apartment and then headed off on a road trip from New Mexico to LA. She also shot her first feature film, an independent horror film titled Lady World. Recognizing how much her parents' last names had helped her get a leg up in the industry, Maya became determined to prove that she could stand on her own 2 feet. And to ensure that she was very much the kind of artist she wanted to be, Maya continued to develop her passion for poetry by writing her own music lyrics and becoming a singer as well. In 2019, she dropped her first singles titled To Love a Boy and Stay Open, The following year, she'd release her first full album, Blush. But her big breakthrough moment took place shortly before that in 2018. During Oscar week that year, Maya auditioned for the new character of Robin in season 3 of the Netflix hit Stranger Things. At the time, she had never even seen the series before, but she knew of it because family members, including her mom and brother, were big fans. When she got the call telling her she had won the part, Maya was shopping on the streets of LA. And while she knew the part of Robin was going to change her life, she didn't know by how much. She said, "I came into it thinking, okay, sarcastic, bored with that life, down to earth, Madonna wannabe, cool girl from school but that no one notices." And then throughout the season, she became more and more like me. Before the end of that third season, audiences would discover in something of a shocking twist that Robin is gay, and it was a moment that Maya was extremely proud to bring to the screen, saying, "It feels wonderful to have a piece of humanity involved in this giant action-packed drama. It's such an amazing thing the Duffer Brothers did, stopping the whole show." It wouldn't take long for Robin to turn into audience's newest fan favorite. She even got her own spin-off podcast series called Rebel Robin Surviving Hawkins, which ran for 6 episodes. And following that success, Maya's career blew up. She not only starred in the film Mainstream, in which she portrayed Frankie, a social media-obsessed millennial, but she'd also go on to appear in Netflix's Fear Street Part 1 and follow in her mother's footsteps by popping up as a Manson flower girl in Quentin Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Speaking of Tarantino, whenever he's asked to theorize on what his long-gestating sequel to Kill Bill might be about, he often brings up that he would love to continue the story of the bride by casting Maya in the role of her baby girl and following their life after 20 years of living in peace, as broken up by the arrival of Vivica A. Fox's grown daughter, who has revenge on her mind. Tarantino would elaborate to Joe Rogan, "And now the bride and baby are on the run, and just the idea of being able to cast Uma and her daughter Maya in the thing would be effing exciting." While that project remains only a hypothetical, it's not like Maya is starved for upcoming roles. In fact, she has 4 big projects on the horizon: the new Wes Anderson film Asteroid City, a comedy alongside Sophie Turner called Strangers, an action comedy with Samuel L. Jackson titled The Kill Room, and Bradley Cooper's Leonard Bernstein project Maestro, in which she plays Leonard's daughter, Jamie. So yeah, you could say that she has her hands full, even without the possibility of potentially getting her butt handed to her for 6 straight months in China like her mom once did. You could also say that Maya's been doing all she can to keep her parents' names as alive and relevant as ever. Thanks for watching this look into the life story of Maya Ray Thurman Hawke. Don't forget to subscribe to Famous Life and leave a comment for who you'd like us to feature next.